Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Taylor Pankratz, and this is Behind the Breakaway. Together with my co-host, Jason Barber, this show takes you behind the scenes of leaving your captive broker-dealer firm and explores the world of RIA independence.
All opinions expressed on the podcast by the hosts and guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Uptick Partners. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not legal advice and should not be relied upon as a basis for any decisions.
All right, and we're back. Another episode of the Behind the Breakaway podcast. We've got Taylor here. We got Jason in the studio. And today we are going to talk about a little bit of a recent news article that came out, and we'll read it or give you the gist. But basically it was a article that was written talking about was it the Schwab RIA president?
Bernie Clark.
Okay. So it's Bernie Clark talking about why is the new rage to skip over the IBD channel and break away from the captive broker-dealer straight to the RIA channel. Something that we've been saying is happening, and now here we are. We have a pretty big wig at Schwab saying that this is a reality, this is happening, but we'll read the article and we'll talk about why is it happening.
Mm-hmm. I had this come across my email, and for anybody that's listening to this, I'm sure if you Google this, you can read it for yourself if you're curious, but it was put out here from Financial Advisor IQ. Title of the article is RIA Channel, a Growing Sore Spot for IBDs. The Registered Investment Advisor channel has become an increasingly attractive destination for advisors leaving the independent broker-dealer space, according to Charles Schwab, head of advisor services, Bernie Clark. Growth in the RIA channel in recent years has included increasing numbers of advisors leaving IBDs, Clark said on Wednesday during Schwab's inaugural Institutional Investor Day. He said more wirehouse advisors are also coming directly to the RIA channel, leaping over the IBD space, which he characterized as a traditional stepping stone for those advisors on their way to joining or starting RIAs. More advisors coming into the RIA space are opting to join existing firms rather than launch their own firm, according to Clark. They're not trying to put their own name on the door, but they're coming out instead and they're joining a firm and they're getting the infrastructure basically for free of those firms, said Clark during the presentation, and that's more akin to the IBD model. So,
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. That's our entire, everything we've known for a year, he just said it in 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I guess it begs the question, why is that happening? Why are people seeing the IBD or kind of wirehouse advisors or captive broker-dealer advisors seeing the IBD channel as either a stepping stone or something that they're not even going to use it as a stepping stone? They're just going to jump right over it. What is it about the IBD channel? Is it what we've said this whole time, which is, number one, nobody wants to have to move their book twice. Mm-hmm. The idea of it being a stepping stone and then having to leave that and do it again is a non-starter for a lot of people, it seems like. Yeah. I think it's that, but is it also that the industry has matured in a way that you now have all the resources that you could possibly ever want, that you don't have to go get a big name brand IBD to provide you the platform and the compliance and the marketing and the infrastructure and the back office and all these things I need to have all these things to do my job. But you can have all those things in the RIA channel at a kind of a fraction of the cost and to have it be very specific to your firm and not a cookie cutter you're plugging into another 20,000 advisor firm that does it all one way.
Exactly. It seems like every advisor that I talk to on the phone, they all seem to have the same idea. They don't coin it the way we do as far as the whole don't move your book twice. But I was talking to an advisor the other day who's getting close to breaking away, and he was making a comment of, I just want to do this one time. And that's why I'm going RIA. And it's, of course, that's exactly what we're saying. you should want to be in a position where you're never going to have to repaper your clients again. You look at it as, hey, if I can break away and go into the RIA channel, and particularly if I'm in a position where I could easily become multi-custodial in the future, et cetera. And as we've discussed on this podcast in the past, even for those people that said, I don't want to be married to Uptick Partners forever, it's okay. Uptick Partners or whatever RIA exists out there, assuming that you're working with people that are not jerks, it's, hey, even if we break up in the future, you go out and start your own RIA or whatever else, you're not repapering your clients. You're maybe having to do a new wealth management agreement or something like that. But that's deliver a new ADV or something like that, which is relatively inconsequential. And whereas I think people are starting to recognize that all you're really doing by breaking away from the wirehouse or the captive broker-dealer and moving into an independent broker-dealer is you're just trading one master for another master, right? Like whatever the problems are, the root core issues that you have at that existing broker-dealer don't really get that much better. It's like lipstick on a pig or something. Oh, like I could put my name on the business card now. Oh, like that's cool, but is my compliance better? Is my technology better? Can I have a CPA practice in my office? Is the enterprise value of my business what it should be when I have this captive? Like I'm still captive, right? In the sense that, if you wanted to sell your business to an RIA who doesn't custody at that particular place, what was the story you were saying about even I think you talked about this on a previous podcast about how somebody that was close to you wanted to sell their business at RJFS, and even then, even though it was literally like inside of the RJFS ecosystem, they were still only hoping for 80% or 80% of the client staying was a success or something like that in that scenario. Right. And so imagine then if you weren't staying in the Raymond James and was like, oh, I'm going to try to sell this business to an RIA that custodies at Schwab, and now I'm going to try to go to all these clients and get them to move all their money to Schwab or whatever else. It's like the success rate is going to go down, and therefore no one is going
to buy your practice with the intention of repapering those people to another custodian. Yeah, because that is going to be a Herculean effort, and how are you even valuing that business at that point? Because you're going to have some attrition, and so even you would never want to sell the business to somebody that's going to go repaper all your clients, because you're not going to get very much money for that, because they're going to lowball you because they know that there's not as many people that are going to move.
Exactly. So you're not going to get 3 or 3.5 or 4 times.
No, you're going to get a discount on that, and so the idea is that you want to at least have your clients custodying your clients' assets at a minimum of a place that you can have a bolt-on RIA, which would be, let's say, Schwab, RJ, Pershing, these big custodians. But then even more, you're thinking, do I want to have, there's so many more RIAs that custody at these larger custodians, at the Schwabs and the Pershings of the world, that they're going to give you a much more competitive bid than people that are going, these people have to stay over here at RJ, for instance, right?
Exactly. And it's supply and demand, isn't it? You just have there are more RIAs, there are more buyers. When there's more buyers that can very easily buy that business, the price goes up. It's just that simple, isn't it?
Yeah. So. But what's interesting is that even Schwab is calling it out, because it seems like RJ is specifically not calling that kind of this whole thing out. It seems like you hear from RJ is that, no, there's a ton of people that are going captive or wirehouse to the IBD channel, and it's as big as ever and all of that. You're not hearing really that they're skipping over RJ IBD and going RJ RIA. You hear a lot of people that are going RJ IBD to RJ RIA, that stepping stone thing. But you're really not hearing a lot of the kind of you're not hearing a lot of people talk about this. They're just skipping the IBD channel entirely, which is kind of a new thing that we've been saying is coming. And it seems like it's now become like actually here maybe.
Yeah. And I think that the reason that you still see that happening is, again, it's just a lack of information in the world and understanding. And there's this sense still, which our mission is to change this, but there's still this sense out there, I think, that the IBD channel is a safe landing spot, for example, or something to that effect. And I do think it's probably fair to say that to some extent it is the easy button, maybe, or maybe perhaps, but you're giving up a lot for that easy button. And so I think people still do that also because they want to get a big check, right? Or they want to get some type of transition dollars, which I think is also very short-sighted, in my opinion. If you really want to think about being somebody's being captive, right? You think about being captive, wait until somebody pays you a bunch of money and says you got to be here for 7 years. That's about the definition of being a captive advisor at that point, right? Which is, I thought that was the whole idea, is that we're trying to get away from being a captive advisor. I want to be independent. Okay, but you take a big check and you're definitely still captive. So it's
you lose a lot of the autonomy. Of course, they're going to write you a big check because they know that every dollar that you bring in a new business is going to that custodian.
Exactly.
That is fundamentally, I think every advisor that's listening to this has to understand, how do they see their practice growing? Do they see it where the custodian is a vendor, for lack of a better word, and they are helping that advisor grow their business, and whether the client wants to put their money at Schwab or Pershing or RJ or any of these places, Fidelity, the advisor should not care. The advisor is supposed to be giving the advice and maybe recommending maybe where they go, but not, hey, your money has got to go to this custodian because they paid me a bunch of money 7 years ago and I'm stuck here until I decide to do this again and repaper everybody again and go look for another check. It just seems like the future of the business is a point where you are separating the advice from the custodian assets. And I would say that it seems to me that if you're not seeing that, if you're at a captive or you're at a wirehouse right now and you would think, I'm going to go through all this work and I still want to have this same captive feeling, that you might just reconsider the entire
just stay where you are
reason of why you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go through this pain and suffering of a transition, and then you're going to wake up 2 years later and go, oh my goodness, I have to do this again because I didn't actually get the whole point of why I was doing this. I thought I was doing it for more money or for this or for that. And then all of a sudden you're going to realize I now see what the industry has been showing me through the tea leaves, which is this is where I should have gone. I should have gone RIA because the industry is moving that way. The technology is moving that way. The infrastructure of the entire ecosystem of the financial services world is lending itself to have these RIAs have more capabilities to help firms grow than these captive or wirehouses or even the IBD channels. The idea that there's now software out there for advisors to be able to plan with the CPAs that they have on staff and these things, that is stuff that never even existed a couple of years ago, but now it's ingrained it's like a normal thing that you would have Holistiplan.
Tax status is incredible. We need to do a whole episode talking about that software.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it now, but it is unbelievable, the things that you can get, and that you can just be like, you know what? I am now in charge and I want this, and there we go.
Yeah. So the technology is now at a place where you don't need to have the IBD. You don't need to have the captive broker dealer.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue that it's holding you back from the growth that you could be seeing in your practice. The technology is now there, And there's all these other businesses that have started to fill this void for the RIA space. All these new compliance companies that are out there that are trying to figure out the best way to help and service RIAs, and they only work with RIAs.
Yeah.
There's all these, it's just like a new ecosystem that has created this vacuum of things that need to be developed. And so you have businesses stepping into those places, and they're built in with 2020 technology, not 1990 technology that they're band-aiding on top.
Exactly.
It's like all these things are being built and being created in real time, and they are incredibly functional and help you scale your business in ways that you don't even know about because they don't even exist in your, they're not even on your horizon in the IBD space or the captive space. They're not even on your radar.
Exactly.
And these are things that we've leveraged. We're currently leveraging them. And I think of new assets coming in, not because the market's up this year. We're talking about net of all that. These are just assets that are coming in because, in our case, people want to have integrated tax services with their investments. Not a very complicated pitch to explain to somebody how that makes sense, but you don't see that very often, right? There's not a lot of company or a lot of firms doing that, at least in our neck of the woods. But I think there'll be more because it's not a hard thing to integrate into your practice with the new technology that exists in the RA space.
Exactly. Yeah. Year to date, and just to give some color to that, year to date's probably triple what the level of assets that we would have brought in at our captive broker dealer. And again, just new investments, new services that we're able to offer.
Yeah. So I would say to any advisors that are listening, if you're sitting there wondering, should you entertain the idea of skipping over the IBD channel and going straight to the RIA channel? Maybe you've never heard about what the RIA channel even is. Maybe you don't know what an RIA is. We were at that point a couple of years ago ourselves. And feel free to reach out. We've got uptickpartners.com. You can go to that website. You can click on the contact us, and one of us, Jason or myself, will reach out to you, or you can call us. The numbers, I think, on the website. And so just reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help you, educate you. We understand that not everybody that's listening to this is going to be a good fit for Uptick Partners, and we're not trying to bring on 1,000 advisors. We're trying to bring on a handful that match what we're trying to build with the culture. And so just know that we are a resource for you, and you don't have to sit there and try to Google some of these questions that you can't find answers to on Google. Okay. So leverage us. We're here to help you in any way we can. We know enough to be dangerous about a lot of these different things, or we can point you in a direction that'll get you absolute clarity on if you have a very nuanced question. But I would just say, please do that if you're just starting the conversation or just starting the process of thinking about leaving your captive broker dealer or leaving your wirehouse and wanting to learn more about independence. Reach out to us. We are more than willing to talk to you. We'll probably talk to you more than you want us to talk to you, because we have something about us that makes us want to help educate people that we were just like you a few years ago. We didn't know anything about anything to do about independence, and we've come a long ways.
Yeah.
So we want to help that.
Absolutely. Shoot, just the other day we had a listener of the show call the office, and I think I spent 2 hours on the phone with him and just really told him everything that I know and tried to answer his questions and educate him. And to be very frank, I'm not sure if it's going to be a great fit. I'm not sure if it'll work out, if it makes sense economically for us or for him, et cetera. But at the end of the day, that's just the servant attitude that we want to have, is that we want to help everybody, whether they partner with us, whether it's a fit, whether it's not a fit. We just want to be good servants to this industry, and particularly to people that were in the same shoes that we were in previously and are just trying to do good for themselves, for their clients, for their families. And that's what we want to do.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. That's a wrap. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please subscribe to our channel. You can find more of our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And check us out at uptickpartners.com, where you can learn more about how we help breakaway advisors just like yourself find independence.